So I'm getting fairly close now to sending this frame away for sandblasting and powder coating, but there's a few more mods to be made. I want to cut off these horn brackets, there's one on each side. There's also a bracket here for the steering dampener connection to the frame. I'll cut that off. I've decided to do away permanently with the center stand, just go with a side stand. So I'll cut off these big ugly brackets here and leave as little as possible. All that can be done once the frame's completely bare and on the ground. There's also some extra welding I've left off on the rear subframe, which I wanted to leave until the frame was completely bare and I could turn it upside down and do the welds that way. Yeah, they're shot absolutely kaput. You can see that's pretty bad. And there's the top. Now I can finally get to this other rivet here. Okay, I've decided to take the outer races out of the steering head, mainly because it's so grunged up and rusted. I want to get them out now. I'll probably put them back in for the powder coating, because you don't want to get powder coating in there. It's got to be bare metal. I'm using this tool here I made up when I did my R100R, and it's It's worked okay just on the bottom race. Now on the top here, I really don't think there's enough of anything to catch in there. So I'm going to have to probably do the old run a bead of weld around here, and then apparently they drop out. I didn't have to do that on my R100R. I used this tool and it worked great on both sides. I think there's a bit more room on the R100R, it's being a later model. Also getting this guy off, most people chisel that off and then cut it with a Dremel, apply heat and all sorts of shit. What I did on my R100R is it actually had two little holes about here, and I figured out that with a small drift you could tap on those and just push that bearing off, no problem. And I'm actually going to try on this one, I'm going to actually drill a couple of holes and see if I can set this up the same way. Now when you do this, you might have to sand this off a couple of times because it does get worn away, especially at the beginning when you're trying to get it going. Once you've got it out a bit of the way, it's a piece of cake, but trying to get it going in that first little groove there, you want to keep a lot of force on it like this, and then give it a tap. Going in the other side, again pushing hard that way. Just be patient. Voila. So on this top one I did end up running a bead of weld around in two spots, and then I used this tool just picking up on those welds to get that out, and came out very easily. I might try some heat. Alright, the trick here is going to be to try and get heat into the bearing without heating up the shaft. That's the dust cover that you normally replace every time you do these bearings. Look at the shit in there. Hardened grease. So that worked pretty well. These are two 4mm holes. On the R100 they're 6mm. No reason you couldn't do 6mm. And they come through on the other side. What I'm going to do while I've got this off is just sand these casting marks away and polish this up. So just a quick go on the polishing wheel and you get the idea. It'll come up really nice. Here's the frame and all the other bits I've got ready to send off to the powder coaters. So I've finished off all the welding on the subframe I needed to do. I've cut off the brackets for the center stand. I have blanked off these areas on the swing arm where there's threaded holes. You don't want any powder coating in there. I've blanked off these studs here, which is where the shocks mount. I've also blanked off the head end where the bearings go, so bolt through there. Also blocked off the steering lock. Got the tabs on for the horn. That one's for the regulator, that's existing one, that's for one of the relays. This one here is for the electronic ignition control unit. Got all the other little threaded holes blanked off with screws in there, including here. I'll be getting that all off to the powder coaters tomorrow. The swing arm I won't be taking to the powder coaters. I'll be painting this myself. I don't want to disassemble this drive shaft here. It's on with an incredible amount of torque, and I'd probably have to take it in somewhere to have it disassembled and also reassembled. And then there's also these bearings here, which are still good. I don't really want to replace them, but you can't powder coat with plastic or rubber in there. That'd be damaged in the heat ovens they use, so they'd have to come out and be replaced. It's easy enough for me to strip this with some paint stripper, and I'll use a nice heavy duty epoxy paint to paint that up.